All right, so we've described a very complex set of goals here to make a more advanced government model. So this is the second separation of powers, which promotes expertise relevant to growing the economy. You can read those notes if you'd like. Um, and this video is going to be replaced. It's not the IAM grid, but this is what we're talking about here, is the government control and ownership. And so I am going to look at my notes here because we have unique privileges and responsibilities. The presidential privileges, which I've outlined in another video on this page, which have to do with how we're setting certain goals or criteria, qualifying criteria for which companies can qualify to propose a bid. And so if the bid qualifies, it can be a part of this system. And so the government's going to have approval channels for that, and the private sector is going to have approval channels for that. We're going to create this overall dynamic where there's this alternate insurance, and then the government can vote to require a bailout that comes from the other fund, but unless they have a dominant majority without a veto, the Fortune 100 or 500 board gets to set the budget. Okay, the United States government, as it currently is set up, can vote to make payments on the national debt from the government's revenue streams, but now they're going to have another team trying to build a budget to make payments on the national debt, and there's going to be this little bit of a competition to see who can do more here. And so, it's probably going to, people would like to see it come from the private sector mostly, and if the private sector can reduce a bunch of costs, maybe the government will have money to be able to pay off the national debt as well. But if we get this paid down to about some percentage of what it is, we can also try to grow equity in this company. And this company can sell off shares to cover parts of the national debt because it's a joint operated initiative. And so giving 50% of this entity to the government enables that strategy. Now, lots of different ways this can work out. Personally, I believe that that's the best plan because we can tie some additional investment that we need now. And so we'll balloon the national debt a little bit, but there will be a plan to safeguard it with this equity. And so that's going to keep us safe. It's going to keep us from defaulting. It's going to keep other countries from thinking we're not managing our finances responsibly. This is going to be a very dynamic plan. And so it evolves our government to have this second set of separation of powers between this Fortune 100 and 500 board. And again, can vote to make payments on the national debt, both parties, and they can vote to increase the budget divided across citizen identities. For the purpose of driving engagement with industrial policy goals, thus driving skill development in the workforce. And so that all happens through strategic pivot. And they're joint managing the project approval criteria such that a company can get approved for presenting a bid, and then it will qualify for this unique tax investment program. And then both entities can dump money into that so that we drive skills in the workforce so that more talented workers can be recruited relevant to the objectives we're pursuing. And so the government and the private sector will work together on that. They can choose to adjust their vote weighting as they choose. And I said that twice, said the word choose twice, but they can structure their voting as they choose. And which will allow them to mobilize for a given situation where more expertise is needed, whether that means they create a panel if you're the United States government, or if you're the Fortune 500 or 100 board. There are lots of different executive meetings that happen between sectors, and you could utilize something like, I think it's the Bretton Woods institutions are managed a specific way. We have some different Fortune 100 and 500 boards in I believe it's the G7 summit. You have some political leaders and some industrial leaders at both of those. And then I forget the name of the organization, but it's something like the Bridgerton meetings. And there are different ways of driving or organizing the private sector to have different meetings. And if you're having a meeting, then you could have a vote on how we set these budgets or how we drive different programs to drive success in industries. And so they both have unique separation of powers. They both joint manage these things. They both can vote on the revisions or are required to vote on the revisions or creation of new addendums which define these different platform layers. And so then let's finally go into this platform branch expertise protected autonomy. And so you can see the notes that I have down here, and I'm using this one video for all three of these posts. So you don't have to watch another video. You just read the notes. It helps to organize it, and that's how these three branches work together. Only this digging really deep into the platform autonomy level that's protected by the addendums, that defines what it looks like to compete on that level of the platform, how we divide up the market capitalization or define the market capitalization, which in turn defines how the voting weight will be distributed amongst the businesses in that sector, in that particular level of the platform, that major market vertical. They will have the expertise to drive how that evolves, that key layer. The businesses that are actually built on top of that major market vertical control that layer. And so it's a better way for us to work on infrastructures, critical levels of infrastructures. You don't want any one company to control that. You can promote and say, hey, this company we're contracting to help pivot this infrastructure with their proposal, and it's worth this much, where we as the companies are giving them this much to help us evolve this infrastructure, and they won this bid, this project bid, and after it's done, we're all licking our chops to see who we can recruit from that team, and then we're going to continue to grow this platform. And in that way, you have the expertise protected of different businesses that come together to help us evolve this platform. And then alongside their expertise, you will have a cyber force, which is predominantly engaged in the identity access management grid, because that's how you log the security. And so it's very important that Cyberforce has that ability across these different specific platform components, such that we have the advanced security we need. And then from there, you have the autonomy for all the other platform levels, such that we really protect the free market evolution in something like psychology, and really in the way that finance is evolving right now with the talk of Bitcoin and crypto. That's all happening because we didn't work together on implementing advanced solutions for how these infrastructures evolve, and we're kind of pitted against each other now as a result. And I don't think it's going to work out well for Bitcoin to make a major transition without being against the banks and their centralized system. And so that Bitcoin, the way that they've proposed this, has sort of pitted them against the established systems, and we need to go a direction where we're trying to help each other achieve the optimal success across different industries and focus on building the private sector around that. But we have to protect certain things first, and then yes, compete as much as we can to see who can best serve the needs of that market, but protect the potentiality of the market to evolve to better serve the needs of every business. And we need that. Otherwise, we end up in these moments where we're pitted against each other like this. And if you think about a field like psychology, the things that we can build in terms of psychological solutions, some of these things relate to gun control. These are complex systems that are managed together. You can't have an advanced gun control policy if any one company locks that. I suppose you could, but would it really be a free market then? And how does that evolve? Does that now get locked into a situation where it's dangerous, where there's some pushing people out in order to hold on to that? And so a better overall plan is the strategic pivot model, and how we have this second separation of powers system that protects the economic drive, some of the budgeting decisions. It's not all of it. It's just a subtle partnership that opens the door to more advanced collaboration strategies. And truthfully, if you think about the ways other governments have tried to centralize certain levels to grow, to enable faster growth, to mobilize their economy, you think about some similarities between something like this and some of those other strategies, yet this protects the opportunities for any citizen who cares about the way their life is impacted by these systems. They are able to collaborate, they are able to present their ideas and talk about how that infrastructure could be better managed with respect to their freedoms, because these, especially in the field of psychology as it relates to gun control, or if we were to require services based on dangerous thought patterns, that's a combination of psychological expertise, what it's possible to do with data, and then what the government and thus the citizen body or civilian population determine is the best way of managing those systems. What are they okay with in terms of how it infringes their potential freedoms or requires them to jump through hoops to prove that they are logically sound or mentally sound to own certain classes of firearms. So that's the advanced model. That's what I truly believe will allow far more access to opportunity and advanced strategies for collaboration, such that we really make a priority to build the strongest systems we can. And think about having this major market vertical strategy, it enables a Cyberforce model to the utmost potentiality possible by having this network strategy for how Cyberforce can cross-observe key layers alongside the private sector companies, which are all trying to build the best solutions in their markets, and they can all agree on certain security strategies that best safeguard the networks. And then yes, we protect the private sector opportunity to serve those needs within the network, such that we protect the network collaboration strategy and the capitalism to pursue, further innovation. So thank you for watching this page. I hope has made it easier to understand this long-term chemistry that we could enable through more advanced collaboration strategies such as these. Thank you.